Hi everyone, so in this video training series, right, I'll be actually revealing one of my private training coaching calls that I have with clients, right, about how I actually maximize my time, my money, my value from any program, workshop or seminar I attend. I share with you the exact steps I learned, right, I share with you some things I even learned from world memory champions, right, things that I've been implementing for myself, right, all the way from free courses and workbooks and videos, all the way, right, to paid $30,000 masterminds, right. So please, right, make sure that only for you to value, right, this entire program, you must take action, you must implement, right, and with that, I'll see you in the next training. Hello everybody, right, so this is the fifth stage, right, where I talk about the mental models, the beliefs, the mindsets, the accelerated learning strategies, right, have helped me, right, not only to, make a multiple six-figure, right, income, revenue, but I think at the same time to be fulfilled, right, and happy and to enjoy my entire process, right, of doing so as well, right. So if not, let's just get right down to it. So quick introduction, right, so I think the big question is, what does success really mean to you? Because regardless of where you are in your life right now, right, all of you here, right, including me, are here to pursue success, happiness, right, one way or another, right. And so whether this means freedom, right, more security, right, to take care of our family or friends, or just to create some massive impact in society, I guess the big question is, what does achieving your dream life really require? So my take is, whatever it is, right, success is all about, right, one of the biggest ingredients is about taking responsibility and ownership, right. And why I also mean, right, it's about keeping your agreements in life. And what do I mean by agreements, right? It's just simply the promises, right? That whatever you say, right, that you want to do, right, you actually get it done, right? So whether it's to yourself, to other people, and basically, right, this just means that whatever you say, right, in terms of an agreement, right, whether to someone or someone else, right, whether it's to show up on time, to get something done, to do a favor, right, to actually get it done and to keep to your word. Right, but the problem is, right, whether it's unconscious or not, right, many of us are influenced by limiting beliefs, mental models, personalities, emotions. They're not serving us, right? And what happens, right, and one of the biggest struggles is because we constantly blame, right, our family, friends, our external events, right, the government, social media, right. One of the best things that have helped me, right, is just to focus on what I can truly control in life. So the big question is, have I been scammed before? Yes, right. Have I been taken advantage of? Absolutely, right. Have I been judged, laughed by others, right? Were there external events that caused me to not succeed or to move forward? Yes, absolutely. But the big difference, right, from me and many other folks, right, is I choose not to be victimized by them and whine and complain and feel negative about them, because it just simply does not serve my mission and purpose. Every day, right, every hour I'm complaining, right, is one less hour, right, for me to control my life and to move forward with it. And at the same time, remember, this also means yourself as well, right? Because every time you feel guilty, you feel regretful, and it's not coming from a resourceful state. You're wasting a lot of time as well. So again, right, we all make mistakes. But the problem is, right, do we learn from it and do we move forward with it? Or are we always caught up with the ghosts of our past and we actually don't move forward with it? So why am I sharing this? Right? So even sometimes when I realize whether it's my friends, my family, or my past experiences, right, even with the best strategies, tactics, right, in the world, I realize that most of us do not succeed, not because we don't know how to do it, right, but it's because usually there's something internal within us, right, that's not working, whether it's the emotions, our mindset, our beliefs, right, our mental models, right. And so this is what I realized many years ago, right, when I heard this new term, right, this term, right, which was new to me, called be, do, have, which is not about doing first, but first about being first, right, in terms of the personality, right, your mindsets, your emotions. And so what I realized that even after spending $100,000 over the past couple of years, I realized that the most powerful program I've attended, right, was actually a mindset program called Asia Works, right? And another similar powerful one was Unleash the Power Within, which is also a mindset program, right? Because I realized even if I know how to do it, it doesn't necessarily mean I know what to do, right? And that's why this is something that I always focus on over and over again. And so this is why I also continue investing $1,000 into each year into upgrading my mindset, right? 4-5 figures, right? All the time, right? To work on what's inside. Because I know, right? The internal will always reflect the external. If you don't fix on what's inside, the results outside will eventually catch up as well. So this is the fifth stage, right? So help you work on the inside, right? And so this entire document, some of my best lesson strategies, tips I've adopted that helped me tremendously through the years. So they included accelerated learning strategies, how to manage my state, addressing limiting beliefs, mindset, so on and so forth, right? And again, right, I just want to put out there, if you want to move faster with fewer mistakes and fewer guesswork with guaranteed results, and time is something we want to move that's important to you, right? We are some of the best people I work with. So not only do we design, like I said, your high income game plan, your strategy, your offer, right, your high performance system, right, we also work on the mindset as well, right? And so again, our programs have an ROI money back guarantee. So not only do you get the money ROI, but you also get to work on the internal ROI as well. Right, so if you want to, right, you can always click on the link, right, document here, right. You can always find out how we can work with you, right, and we guarantee, right, that at least 2x your investment, right, up to 2x, right, working with us. Okay, so With that, right, the first big lesson over here, right, is how do I maximize my value in any seminar, workshop, program. So 2019, right, I attended a memory enhancement seminar by a grandmaster of memory, right, Nishan, right, and people paid up to $3,000 to be there. And the first one all alone, I really felt I really made all my money back because of these two lessons. And number one, right, is just simply to say, to stop telling yourself you have a poor memory. Because the more you say it, right, you communicate subconscious to your mind that you have a poor memory. Right? And so even though I didn't say I have a poor memory at that point of time, right, I would say that I'm very blur. Right? In other case, right, I'm a bit dim-witted, I'm a bit slow. Right? And what I realized, it created a self-fulfilling prophecy. And from that day, I vowed to myself never to say that again. Right? And it took months for me to experience the differences myself, right? But while I'm still blur, right, every now and then, I realized that I do not include it as part of my identity. And it's helped me tremendously to become way more focused over the years. And so remember, right, over here, the first lesson is the words you use about yourself have massive power over you. Be very mindful of the words you use for yourself. And so lesson number 2, right, is what I call the best note-taking system in the world, right? Even today, I use it right now, even for my $30,000 masterminds, my YouTube courses, my programs, my seminars, right? My one-to-one consulting where I pay up to $1,000 per hour at times. So what I simply do is this, right, is I create a blank page and divide into 3 different sections. You can see a sample over here, right, at your own end. All right? And so the section number 1, right, is basically action. So anytime, right, I think of there's a good action to write or potential action I can take, right, after the program, after the seminar, after the book, right, I'll just write down all the actions potentially I can take, right? And what I do is after the program, after the seminar, after the book, right, I'll take some time to identify, okay, at least 1 to 3 actions I can take, right, in the next 7 days for maximum momentum to move forward at the fastest progress at that point of time. And I'll start scheduling into my calendar. And the rest I can put in my to-do list, right? I can schedule in later parts of the calendar. But the top 3 actions I can take to really move forward, right, is really give me momentum and to get some results. Even if I forget everything after the program, right? Those 3 actions give me the value I am looking for. Right, and another big lesson I learned, right, I've heard it from one of my mentors, right, is that a huge multimillionaire in Singapore, right, will always lock himself out in the hotel for 3 full days, undisturbed, right, after each seminar, right, to fully, right, internalize, right, what he or she, what he really learned. So this is something that I really love and something I try to use as much as possible. Okay, so this action. Right, and one key thing to note, right, when it comes to action, right, is remember the 3 most dangerous is I know already, right, and always remind yourself that common knowledge is not common practice, right. This by my mentor Brandon Bashar. So each time the speaker shares a point, even if you've heard it before, be very mindful not to be complacent, right. And so I always ask yourself, how can I apply this? And if you have already heard it, you have already applied it before, right, you can ask yourself the next question: how can I apply this even better? So in this case, whatever you hear at the point of time, right, you'll be able to, right, maximize it and get the value that you're looking for. Section number 2, right, is your resources. So this is whenever the speaker, right, the author, right, mentions any book, resource, tool, article, newsletter, right, they can check out after the program. And basically after the program, just take maybe about 15-20 minutes, right, to subscribe, follow, buy, right, download, whatever the speaker mentioned, right, to maximize my experience even further, right. So if there are any articles to check out, right, you can use this app, right, Instapaper, Reader, right, Pocket, right, because it saves your articles offline, read later. And by the way, that is an example of a resource as well. So you can always put it here, right, and you can always download the template over here if you use it. And the last one is questions, right? So during the entire program, right, if you are fully focused and you apply the top 2 things I shared above, especially the question of how can I apply this, I guarantee you are bound to have a lot of questions. So again, it might be a bit nerve-wracking to ask questions, especially in a public setting sometimes, right, with hundreds of people event. But realize, right, the attitude of I'll ask it later is dangerous because you might forget to ask the question to begin with. So always write down, right, the questions, right, so that you don't forget it, and try to get it answered ASAP. Right, and or try to get it answered during the breaks, right, during the calls, right, to make sure that you don't waste your time. So alternating and resourceful and get it answered whether through your research, Google, right, ChatGPT, right, and whatnot, but make sure that you write it down so that you do not forget it. And by a very quick one, if you don't have questions, right, it just very likely means you're either not focused, you are not thinking critical how you apply it, or simply think you're too good already, right? So be very mindful. If you have no questions, right, it's a very dangerous thing. So you do want to take note of that, right? And so this also shows the importance of particularly 100% being present. Right? If not, why waste your time? Why even attend it? Right? So one thing I realized in many of my masterminds, right, my events, my workshops, right, that the people who are the most successful tend to ask the most number of questions. So make sure that is something you actually emphasize on in the future. And again, you can download the sample we have prepared for you over here. Okay, so moving forward, right, so this next strategy, right, is a simple accelerated learning technique that I learned back when I was still a student. And so before I went to university, right, I was still in serving the army, right, before I went to school, right, there was this book I read called How to Become an A-Star Student by Cal Newport, right, again an example of resource, where he interviewed the strategies and tips from Ivy League students who are still at the top while having a social life and being president of clubs and balancing a part-time job. So these are the top 1% of the top 1%, right? I'm doing well at academics and I still have a life. And so one of the best tips, right, he realized after after interviewing many of these top students, was simply this, right, which is to discuss what you learned and to teach other people, right? And this coincides with the cone of learning, right, over here, right, which states that the best way to retain information, right, the top three: teach others, implement, right, obviously what I talk about, and also discuss, right? And so this is why over the years, right, when I was just starting, I wasn't even doing to make money yet. I was conducting many free sessions, right, for stocks, for high performer habits, right, how to implement, right, and personal finance. So what I realized is, yes, even though I help my friends, I was also learning myself as well. Because why? They might ask questions that I might not understand fully. So if they ask questions that I don't understand, I can always research my own, and that deepens my understanding of it. So the best final tip, right, in this entire section is to simply share and teach what you have learned for maximum learning and retention. And so this means sharing lessons on social media, your IG stories, conducting a small group session, right, with your friends. And doing this, right, can really mean you retain information for years instead of hours or even weeks. So if you want to practice, right, and also at the same time you want to do me a favor, whether you watch this or the other trainings as well, you can always share your biggest lessons on Facebook, right, by writing a quick review here if you want to, right, or you can just share your own post and tag me as well. I read everyone, I reply to every single comment and tag also, right? So you can put it over here, right, and this is something you can do to accelerate your learning even further. Okay, so right, and the next thing, right, the final skill in this segment, right, will be what I call one of my most portable and useful skills ever, right, which is called success modeling. Right, so in short, success leaves clues. So it's one of the fastest ways anyone can do to accelerate their growth and results in a very short period of time by studying and emulating what folks have already succeeded did previously. So one thing to note, right, at least for what I do, right, at least for this segment, right, it doesn't work if you're looking for mastery of any skill and subject, right? Usually I will have you to refer to my own personal mentor, 8-figure entrepreneur Stuart, right, as part of the video, right? So while modeling does give you a very powerful spark in your learning, right, in whatever I'm going to share, right, take note that if you want to get great at mastery, right, you go a lot more in depth, right, a lot more skills, right. Some NLP strategies might be useful as well, right, and that, right, you can find out, right, by dropping a DM. I can give you other resources if you're looking for also. Okay, so one thing to note, right, is you actually can apply success modeling to almost any area of your life. Okay, so successful steps, right, for successful success modeling, right? So number one, identify what's the goal you want to achieve and identify the skills and knowledge you need to have. Number two, right, is basically just research the thought leaders, authors, trainers, practitioners who have already achieved similar goals, right, and results they already wanted to achieve. So one thing to know is for more tactical skills, right, I look for folks who are hopefully more closer to my current stage, right, or those who can specifically and clearly explain what they do. On the other hand, right, for more intangible areas like strategy, mindsets, right, I look for folks who are already masters in their game, right? So for more mindsets perspective related, right? So for example, recently when I wanted to upgrade my level of mental toughness, right, I look for all these top level people, right? Because I look for the top rather than, right, people who might be just starting out or not too good at what they do. At least that's my own personal approach. So what I do over there, right, is I select the top 2 to 3 folks, right, based on, right, their values, personality, lifestyle, past experiences, gut feel, or whether I feel they relate with me. And I spend quite a bit of time to immerse myself, right, and research their strategies, tools, tips, right, their mindsets, their content, right. And I remember to write lots of notes using the ARQ strategy as well, right. I also look at platforms, right, like YouTube, website, email, so and so forth. And I realized that, hey, I don't have to model everything, right. And if I can interview them, right, even better. Right, some of them might be more local, right? You can interview them, right? So there's just questions you can check out, right? If they will be willing to give you 15-20 minutes of their time, all right? And what happens is, after I consume quite a little bit, right, and then I'll implement, take action. And one of the best hacks I do, right, is I will put, for example, their work side by side with me, right? And I'll start first by following their structure, overall strategy, what they do, right, before I adapt it to my own style and preferences. And this can work for areas such as writing, design, funnel hacking, right? I can just model after the exact design, they can model after it, right? I can craft their own copy and then I can adapt mine, right? Or even their routines, right? I can follow what their morning studying routines and then adapt it to mine. So for example, right, one thing I can do is to accelerate, is to model even how I actually craft this entire, right, guide as well. And this is something I model after in terms of the font size, right, the structure of it, right, and then I adapt it to my own style as well. And this is something that you can do on your own also. Okay, so this is what I do when it comes to private client, right? And by the way, right, if you want to model even further, right, over here you can check a quick video of what I share with all my private clients about how they can guarantee their success in our program, right? And again, this took me close to a decade's worth of learning mistakes, right, based on talking to more than 300 people, right, through my Master Mentors program, right, and hope it benefits you too as well. Okay, so my take, right, is I'm going to review whatever I just mentioned over here, right, try to see how I can apply it, right, especially in terms of ARQ, success modeling, right, in terms of not telling your self-talk as well, right, and all you need to do is to apply this to your team if you actually want some personal support with guaranteed results as well. So this is part 1, right, I'll see you in part 2 of the video.